Hello, Lions Nation. Welcome to another edition of Believe in Lions. It's brought to you by FanDuel alongside Lions fan favorite Glover Quinn. I'm Trevor Thompson, and today we are joined by another Lions fan favorite, one of the all-time greats to wear a Detroit Lions uniform. He's a member of the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame. He's a member of the Pride of the Lions and the Lions all-time team. He is a member of the University of Virginia Hall of Fame. His number 87 is also retired there. And just recently it was announced he will be going into the College Football Hall of Fame. And he's an even better person than he was a football player. The great Herman Moore joining us on the show this morning. Herman, we really do appreciate your time. Great to see you, brother. Thanks for taking the time with us this morning. Let's start things off with Glover Quinn because I like to get out of the way of the former players and let them have at it on the show. So GQ, take it away and welcome Herman.
Oh, man, appreciate you, Herm, for being here with us. And, I mean, I'm just going to jump right into it. I mean, he talked about all those accolades and these things. And I remember playing with you on the video game and growing up playing Tecmo Bowl. And, so I was a fan, and it was obviously a pleasure to actually meet you when I got to play in Detroit. But he talked about the recent College Football Hall of Fame. Talk about that, what that means to you. Like, how does that feel?
I appreciate it, fellas, for having me. It's one of those things where you look to have any career that you've had culminated at some point, right? So the pinnacle of college football is, you can win the individual accolades. You want to win at this point, the national championship or finish number one. We had an opportunity to be that in college. I hope that we'd have an opportunity to play in the national game or to finish number one, but we fell a little short. But I think we changed the trajectory of what the program was looking like. It was predominantly academics, and then it was, you couldn't have both the academics and the high athletic standards. And we showed that you can have true student athletes that can come through that program. And then to be recognized now post-career and all the criteria that goes with being a part of the College Football Hall of Fame, it means a lot because it's not just about your athletic prowess. It's about what you do as a community leader and your post collegiate career. And going off to the NFL made it even that much sweeter. But now, man, it's just enjoying the recognition for those things that you did the right way. You know how it is. And in college, I miss it because that's when you really bond. It was before the NIL. The kids now, I'm sure at some point you'll see it. And you guys both know, like, when you were there, you were playing really for the game. Now the transfer portal, the NIL and all those things, it makes it almost like a smaller version of the NFL. But we played with the locker room, and you played like family. And then you hung out with those guys. They were part of your family. So, the College Football Hall of Fame is a great accolade. But for the most part, man, it just lets me know I played with some really great people. I was coached by some phenomenal individuals, and I had a university that cared about me as a man first.
And at Virginia, you didn't just play football, Herm. You're quite a high jumper, too. Tell me about all your other athletic skills and endeavors and all the other achievements that you achieved during your time at Virginia as well.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but my favorite sport was actually basketball. And I started a little bit later, but it was something we played in the hood, man. It's something we played where I grew up in the projects. And football in the streets, everyone who knows that, they get it. They understand it. You don't have to elaborate. They know how you play, whether it's grass, whether it's street. And when I was playing, I was always introduced to all the different sports. So everything from tennis to swimming to basketball, baseball, and then I just gravitated to certain things. And then I was a smaller player until I really hit a spurt the 11th grade. And I decided to go out for track and field. So then I was doing three sports. So I had basketball, track and field, and then football. And then ironically, I ended up jumping 6'10" or something like that my junior year, just going out the first time. And they were like, this guy's crazy.
First time, right out of the box. Right out of the box, 6'10".
6'10", man. As a junior, they called me Hops when I was in basketball. And I hadn't worked on shooting. I was just always wanting to get the rebounds. I want to dunk. I want to catch it off the rim and do all those things. And I was like, this dude can kind of jump. So come out for track and field, came out. And then my senior year, ended up going over 7 feet and went up to, I think, 7'1" or something like that in high school. And I started getting all kind of scholarships for my track and field, more so than I did in football or basketball. And ultimately, I chose football, even though that was the one I was probably not as proven in because I was a kicker. And I always tell people that I had a 48-yard field goal,
Look
which
at
I think is still, I think that's still our record for our school. Yeah, I had a 40. Come
Oh,
on, come on, hey,
nice,
come on,
nice.
GQ.
Really?
I had the square toe shoe too, like the Mark Mosley. See, if people don't know, I'm going back. I'm gonna take the old heads back, right? Mark Mosley style.
Yes.
I had the square toe
That's
shoe
awesome.
and 48-yard. I actually got a picture of it. And what's nice is, back then we didn't have all the digital stuff, but I have my high school clippings, and it shows me actually kicking that field goal. And so I got some nice little relics, man. I got some nice little story pieces to talk about. But yeah, I did. I never want to limit myself, and that was so taking all those. You already know you got to bring that all together. You could be athletic and have these different talents, but you got to bring it to a place where it actually can be of use to a team or in a sport to make it really work. I know, man. Kicker, right? And hops and.
I would have never guessed that you were a kicker, but I do
Ever.
remember the square toe shoe because we had one of those when I was in high school. That's crazy. Like our kicker used to our kicker was like early in my career, he was like a running back. He would literally change his shoe and put on the square toe
That's
shoe
it.
to kick the ball.
Exactly the same thing. I had to go in. They had to throw that shoe in. I take that shoe off, throw it back to the sideline, put on my square toe, and kick. I was kickoff and field goals, man. So I want to go back and see really what my field goal percentage was because I could talk about the 48-yard. I could have been 1 for 20. I don't know, but I know I got the 48-yarder, and
And that's all people remember anyway. And that's all that matters. Nobody cares what it was, but you got the 48-yarder.
I have a lot of respect for you and those that play. I started out, they had me at safety, and if it tells you anything, they moved me very quickly from safety to receiver, and you got to know why. I tried to tackle. It wasn't going to work that way. That's a different beast right there.
Man, people don't understand. People like I was looking at something on social media one day, and they were talking about safety being like the easiest position on the field. I'm just like, man, you know, I, I mean, it's a respect to the game. I don't know if there's any easy position when you talk about NFL football because everything is hard in its own right, right? But tackling real human beings, big, small,
solid,
fast, slow, strong, like it's such a hard thing. And it's the pressure on it, it's a science. I mean, it's tough. I know they sit there and make it seem like you just sitting back and you get to catch interceptions and all this and that's a part of it, but it's tough, man. So shout out to all my safeties out there, man.
Oh, yeah,
And all my
definitely shout
defensive
out.
back.
Y'all got to track a long way, man. And then also, like you said, like I had a guy, Derwin Griggs, number 44. I was about $180, 6'1", maybe $180. All I remember is him stepping on my chest, my face, and kept going. He didn't break stride. I don't even think I wrinkled his shoelace. I don't even think I damaged his shoelace, man. It was. I said, yeah, this. I'm not cut for this one. So shout out to you, man. All the safeties.
That's cool, man. But like, as a receiver, how often do the safety position or just the cornerback position alter, your thought process going into a game, right? So, as a quarterback, it may be, all right, well, this safety right here, he's not very good cover guy, so we're going to go at this guy, right? But from a receiver standpoint, knowing, okay, this safety right here is a tackler, he's a thumper, or, hey, this guy right here, he don't really like contact, because you've studied, you've seen that. Like, how does that kind of change your thought process going into a game and kind of how you approach it and how you wanted to attack it back then?
Well, back then, even now, and I'm even going to break down like how I would have approached you, because when you look at that position, it's dynamic. Everything moves. You see a set, and it's not static. So the defense is going to move. Guys are going to go into a certain position. They're trying to bait you. They're trying to protect certain zones and areas. So it's a game, right, of strategy. When I look at it, I always study the tendencies of the safety and also the secondary as a whole, because they work as one unit. It's not like that guy is one, unless they're just going to go man free. You really need to know how all the pieces are moving, and then that tells you what the responsibility is of those different individuals. And then if it's an aggressive safety who is smart, that has some season on them, and they know how to jump and read routes, then you got to be crafty. You got to learn how to disguise your route. You got to understand how to stem and do all these other things to move that person. So there's a lot that go into it that you learn as you go. When you're first starting out as a receiver and you're looking at that safety or looking at the secondary, it's you're really just trying to follow the script. And then as you get a little bit more comfortable, you start to understand how the pieces are moving, so you can work against that and make sure that you're working against what they're trying to do. But like I say, when I watched you, because obviously you were a smart safety, you were Pro Bowler type, guy. You're all pro. You're just one of those guys that knew the area. So I would want to have to run a lot of combination routes against you, because I need you to pick basically which way to go. You just don't want to let you float and roam, because you're reading everything and your instincts are just too good for that. And I'm not saying that just because I'm on the show, but in watching you, that's what I respected about you. And so yeah, we would look to run combination routes on you and try and get you to move. And you're gonna have to pick one or the other. So we ain't gonna worry about your other comrades, right? And we're gonna beat them. We're gonna go, listen, we're gonna get past these guys. When we get here, you go that way, I'm going that way. And then he's gonna have to pick his poison.
And so, in saying that, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were just asking me about the game, and I was just like, I watched the game, but it's just different now. And I've only been at the game for 7 years, right? So for you, when you watch the game now and you see these new receivers and these new, like, how do you feel like the game is progressing from, like, do you feel like they're getting better? Do you feel like these guys could have played back in the way you played? Or do you feel like you, like, right now would have been the same guy in today's game as you were, back then? Or do you feel like, what, the game is, these guys are a lot better? Or they,
it's hard to get better.
Right. Well, I mean, I know Trev is, he's been there. He's here. He's seen kind of how we did and what we played. And it's the observation sometimes more so than even me is looking at, people who really look at the game, how they see the transformation. The biggest change I've seen is the guys have an opportunity to prepare a little bit differently. The technology and the tools that they have access to gives them a competitive advantage, especially like being able to analyze their game, be able to look at it and have access to it a little bit quicker, sooner, make those adjustments and those things. But from an athletic ability, I don't think it's much different in terms of, other than, the body size has changed a little bit. I think the ability to be able to have access, like I said, to certain workout tools and those things are there, but the discipline, I think, has slipped, right? It's a lot of things I see that kids are being taught at the camp level or the club level, and they still don't break that mold all the way up through the professional levels. They carry it through the college level. The college level doesn't really change it as much, and then it transfers over. So if you look at the discipline in terms of how it's done, it's kind of a rinse and repeat. You don't see a lot of guys that kind of break out near their own individual brand of type of player. So it's a good league. I think it's very athletic. And I think, obviously the speed and the size and the strength and all those things have gotten different, not necessarily better. But it is an athletic league. But do you have guys that can cross over and say, okay, take this guy up generations or back generations? And I don't think you get as many players that could do that because it requires, a lot of people say it's just the athletic piece. No, it's mental toughness. Mm-hmm. It's rule changes. It's the fact that, these things that you get away with now, you can't get away with that back then. Receivers had a little bit more leeway. The defensive secondary could definitely, everything was fair in game. And so the middle now is coveted, right? You didn't want really the middle. You only wanted your big guys going over the middle. You needed tough guys to go over the middle. And so the game's changed. It's become more entertainment focused and making sure that it preserves the guys because of the contracts. And that's understandable. but I don't think you get as many that can cross over the generations. And that could be debatable and arguable. But I will say this. I know coming out of the 90s, anyone wants to go and play that game and look it up, that was a beast decade. It really was. And I'll have that debate and conversation with anyone. And that's objective data. That's not. And a lot of people say, the old heads always want to go back and go, my generation was the best. No. It's just let's take the subjectivity out of it. Let's take the opinion out of it. Just go look at it. It's more than numbers. And everybody thinks it's all statistics based, and it's not. It's not. Like your era is this era of the safeties. I mean, you look at the 2000, I think it was 2000 through 2020, doing that it was a 20-year period. It crossed over a couple of those decades. But I mean, that's when it was a boom in those guys. And then, every era has its thing. But, a lot of people lazy. They don't want to go back and look at it that deep. It's just one of who's got the shiny card, who's got the new whatever, who's doing the next dance. And it's like, oh, that guy's the best. No.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, Herm, you certainly did choose the right position, kicker and safety. I'm not sure you'd have had all the accolades that you have accumulated, but right now you are also the only wide receiver in this class of the College Football Hall of Fame electees to make that the only wide receiver, but not the only Lion. And Ndamukong Suh going in with you too. If you could just talk about the class that you're going in with, speak specifically to Suh, but then we've got guys like Kajana Carter, Aaron Darnold, Marvin Harrison. Well, he's a kicker and a wide receiver, kick returner, wide receiver, and then Mark Ingram. Just the guys that you went in with, and highlighted Ndamukong Suh and what you think of your class.
It's great. I mean, when I started looking at the class, you always want to look at the guys you're going in with. Because it's a statement and a measure of just the type of talent that has not just played at the collegiate level, but you can see the success that they've had at the professional level as well. You talk about Marvin Harrison. I watched him when he came into the league, and he's one of those tacticians. He's a really technical guy in his route running. So I had a lot of mad love and respect for him. We used to call him Starving Marvin because he always wanted the ball. And then you talk about Suh. We know what he was like here. We know how his career has been, just being a dominant guy on the inside, being an aggressive player, and taking that from one level and then bringing it to another level and having that continued success and high level of play in a peak period. A lot of people have up and down years, but that was just, he has consistent peaks. Aaron Donald, that goes without speaking. I mean, this is a guy that, he retired because he wanted to retire. He could still be playing probably. And just a great player that changed the size of that's needed to play that position and dominate. And Kajana Carter, remembered him quite a bit from the collegiate days. And you go on and on and on, right? It's just some of those popular names, but it's really a recognition of guys that did it when the stage was biggest and when it was amongst a lot of their peers who were just as good, if not better. So I don't take it for granted, and it's just a blessing to be in there with those guys.
That's dope, man. So congratulations on that once again, man. But I'm going to switch it. We just had the Super Bowl, man. We just had the Super Bowl. And obviously the Lions didn't make it, But we had the Seattle Seahawks and we had the New England Patriots. And mixed reviews on the game. Did you watch the game?
I looked at it.
It was hard to hold your attention. Let's just be honest.
Hey, man. Listen, this is a true story. And GQ, I'm gonna let you finish. So I was sitting there. The best part of what I sat and I talked to a school teacher, because the way we do it, you sit down and then they call up. So every quarter I get to sit with an individual, one of the attendees, and we sit and we talk. So you're thinking that the game's gonna start.
What are they attending? Just back it up, Herm. What are they attending? Set up the scene for us.
Yeah, so when we're sitting there, you come in. It's in the big music hall or entertainment hall that Soaring Eagle has at their place.
Okay.
And they sit out these comfortable chairs, like lazy boy chairs, and it has the cup holder in between you. They bring you food and you get your favorite beverage, and the person sits down. They get to have a whole quarter with me, and we can watch the game. Right? Here's what happened with me. So we're watching the game. Quarter starts. The first person I'm sitting with is he's a gentleman who worked with Meyer, and then he started his own gardening center business. So I talked about that, his gardening center, We talked about his business, how he exited the business, how he wished he hadn't retired in it. He wanted to get it back because he was like, man, I really enjoyed that. I missed going to work and seeing all these people. Quarter one's gone. We're talking, we're breaking bread, we're chopping it up about the gardening center and being entrepreneurial. Second quarter comes in, I'm sitting with a school teacher. And he had been working for 40 years before he retired there. But then this lady, she had been retired. She was a school teacher for 40 years. And we chopped it up about school, talking about how important educators are, the influence of them. And at some point I was looking up at the game and I noticed that there was, it was something to zero, right? It's like, I'm like, okay, it's not a whole lot going on in defensive game. You hear the background. Then another person comes up, halftime, we watch the show with someone, and then we come back third quarter, fourth quarter, same deal, right? Different people. I knew more about them. If you want to ask me about them, I could tell you. You want to ask me about the game? I just know that one team didn't score to the fourth quarter, and then even then, it was basically out of whack. And I saw a lot of missed open passes and some other stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're good. Hey, can I get another beverage, please?
Right.
Can I get one more of those? Yeah. Look, Kabasi.
Yeah. I just felt like, even going into the game, I felt like the Super Bowl this year, to me, it just lacked star power, in my opinion. I don't think, like, there's nobody that I would say on the whole New England football team that we would consider a superstar, in my opinion. Like, you can't name anybody on their defense that you would say, oh, that's a star, right? And on their offense, who would you say is a star? They didn't have that. Even Seattle had a great defense, but who on their defense are you saying, oh, that's a superstar?
Right.
Even on their offense, who are you saying that's a super? We didn't have Patrick Mahomes. We didn't have, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. We didn't have these, what we consider superstars in this game. It was more so just good teams, solid teams, really good defenses. But it just kind of lacked the star power. And it was so crazy to me because I used to always feel like there's no way that you can be on this earth and not understand or not know about certain things, right? And it's because I'm in it, right? So I'm like, how does people not know who LeBron James is? Or how do people not know that the Super Bowl is going on? Or all this stuff, because you talk to some people like, oh, I didn't even know. I never heard of this. And I'm like, how does that happen, right? And I would say this year was the first year where I understood it. Because last week, between everything that I was doing, working, yada, 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 I don't think I saw any Super Bowl coverage. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it on my social media. I didn't have the TV on, ESPN. My kids, they're watching YouTube. I didn't see any Super Bowl coverage. And I feel like that's probably because there was no star power. If Mahomes was there, Jalen Hurts, it would have been something that would have just came across my feed. I didn't get anything. And it clicked in like, oh, I'm in the world and I didn't really see anything from the Super Bowl. So if you're not in it, you probably didn't see a thing about it either. And it kind of clicked like, oh, that's how it happened. But I just thought the game was, it just lacked star power, in my opinion. And so it was just like blah.
Right. And if I had to add something to it, I would say the Super Bowl, I break it down to you like this. There's a couple ways. So it becomes a storyline. When they don't have the star power and they don't have the juggernaut teams, the ones that have just been dominating all season versus, figuring out, okay, well, New England had this type of strength of schedule. If you look at the NFC, Seattle had the toughest path to get through. They actually went through some teams that were Super Bowl deserving and those things. So they deserve to be there. But when I look at it, I think they're looking at this one. They had to make it about the storylines. You had to take New England getting back to their glory, getting back to the Super Bowl. They're riding the wave of a young quarterback that's stepping in May. And now there's this after, the Brady and Belichick era, right? It's like now that New England's got to start this new wave of what their legacy is going to look like. And then with Seattle, it's an opportunity to come back. They tried to compare it a lot to Seattle defenses of the past, and obviously it lacks the star power, to your point. as much as they kept trying to build it. I think the only thing you could look at is that one team just got dominated by one that just looked like it wasn't ready for the big stage. So it did give you just kind of a down feel on it. And then when you get it to where you don't even have the entertainment piece because you got one team just getting dominated, it does leave you with just kind of a ho-hum type Super Bowl, and it's not one that's going to be memorable other than the storylines. Like Sam Darnold, that was a storyline. Like that's what everyone tried to go along with. Like it hit the way he's been a journey for him to get there after going through a few teams, where he took Minnesota, and that Minnesota let him go. Minnesota should be ashamed. Some head should be rolling because now he took them from look at what they got going on with JJ McCarthy versus they could have had him and it could have been a different this, that, and the other. So if you look at it, I won't call it distraction headlines, but it is, we're Super Bowl, and it's going to be a great show, but yeah, so I agree with you.
And that's the thing though, like they're trying to make Sam Darnold the headline, the storyline, but nobody cares about Sam Darnold.
As you can see, my guy is not a Sam Darnold fan, Herman.
Come on, all right, you have to let me know then. Like now I'm gonna have to say this. All respect, like I want to know why you don't think it's a storyline. Like I think it's a story. I think it's a story there, right? It's a story of his journey. It may not be big enough for the stage, but
that's what I'm saying. Like who's like? I mean, I'm sure there are players and young kids and things, but just like and maybe it's just me because of my career and my path and where I'm at right now. But like, I mean, Sam Darnold, I mean, you were the number 3 overall pick. Why are we glorifying that? Oh, he stuck through you was the number 3 overall pick. You were drafted to do this. Like, you were drafted to do this. I can see if you was an undrafted guy, Brock Purdy, that's kind of did, like, you were the number 3 overall pick. You were drafted to do this, and you finally did it. Okay, but I just don't know. I just don't know if people like if he resonate enough with enough people to say like, oh, that's a inspiring story, because like a lot of people don't even know who he is.
Right,
it's Sam Darnold.
Well, I can live with that. Like I understand where you're going. I think it's all relative to the geographic location. I think it's based on the fan base. I think it means something to Minnesota because of what was lost and what became. And I think for Seattle, it's the acquisition of that ultimately that allowed them to get to their second Super Bowl. And then I think with Sam Darnold, it's in spite of, maybe it's the path of resiliency. It's the path of determination and overcoming the high expectations, hitting the low parts of life or your career, and then ultimately having to work your way back up that ladder. And then ultimately it culminates again at the Super Bowl. But it's individualized. And to your point, it's not about the Super Bowl is about the team. It's about not the individual journey. And that's why I said, like, you almost had to segue it and make it into these headlines to make the Super Bowl seem more relevant, right? The headlines had to make it more relevant than the game itself. So to your point, I'm agreeing with that. But man, let Sam have his flowers, man. Come on, man. Let him have his flowers, man.
I mean, I ain't gonna hate on Sam. You know, that's just my personal preference, you know. But I mean, even you look at Jackson Smith-Njigba, like he's the offensive MVP, and like I would do a poll to see like who really knows like Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Right.
Like,
that gets into that statistical piece we just talked about. Like I said, it's a game of peak dominance. I think we are quick to deem people great and give them all these different, we shower them with all these things, but we don't have that sustainable history to get there yet. We can have great years, right? I've had great years, but then it's how do you maintain it when all of a sudden you got that target on your back? How do you, when all the teams start to come after you, might have had interceptions because people were throwing a lot of balls your way, and then all of a sudden looks like, man, you're not making any interceptions. You know why? Because people aren't throwing your way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They don't want to come there. You're not going to get the tackles. We got to run opposite of that guy, right? And again, it gets into this day and age, it's really about the bright lights. It's about who's making the most noise. It's about a lot of those things. And then there's the statistical piece, and the stories that get created, because each team has their own media team for a reason. You have to blow that up, and you put all this millions of dollars of marketing and these teams behind it to create these storylines. But then if you get people who really know and they peel it back, you can it's not going to be many that are going to do that. Most of us are surface when it comes to evaluation of things versus really digging down into the details of it.
Hey, Herm, you talked about the people that you met there, what they did, what their careers were, and you could run down what they told you about themselves. But why don't you share with us what you've got going on right now? I haven't seen you out there as far as what you've got for the community right now. What's going on with you?
Well, I do a lot. So it's first and foremost big in philanthropy, spending a lot of time with, working with our communities, working with not just the area where I live and I work, but it's throughout the state of Michigan, and also traveling back to Virginia and some other places where I have some connections. That's first and foremost. And then the second part is just creating strategic alliances and partnerships in business, understanding that it's just like football and just like any team sport. I look at business as a team thing as well. And so I try and find the right relationships. Some work, some don't. I'm out here with various businesses. I have a company that will oversee several other independent companies that I will own and or an investor in. And then in there, we go out and we try and make a difference. And most of it is around innovation. And it could be anything from print on demand type services to contract manufacturing. We do a lot of experiential marketing and branding, working a lot with kids on understanding the impact of being a brand and what the responsibility is that comes with that. And then other service driven things. So it's really breaking down the anatomy of business. So a lot of people may say, hey, you're doing too much. You do a lot of things. But if you look at it, business just has different buckets. And we choose to be vertically integrated by owning all those different buckets.
You got something in the collectible space as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so got involved in that. I love that part of it because growing up, I always loved my comic books. I love cards and collecting a lot of these different things over the years. And recently, with the boom, especially during COVID, there was a lot of people in the collectible space. So I've stayed in that space quite a bit.
GQ's got some work of his own as far as he's got his frame business going right now. Maybe you guys, there's a little synergy there in some way. You guys could connect with what both of you guys are doing right there, GQ.
Yeah. We was already talking about it, so I'm sure we'll be able to connect and get some stuff done. But yeah, Herman's been doing a lot. Even when I was out there, I was involved in several different events or appearances with Herm, and always just been inspired by what he's been able to do and to keep it going. And I find myself in this phase of life is just kind of like, this is a fun part, getting into it outside of football, and using football to segue or kind of get you into certain rooms. But then you got to be able to work the room. You got to be able to sell or whatever it is you're doing. So it's a fun part of life for me. It's a new challenge. So I'm enjoying it. Definitely be reaching out to different guys, mentors, just talking. I love to ask questions and get information. But I do want to get another thing out of Herm before we get out of here is, where do you think the Lions need to go for in this offseason? As they look to try to get back on track. You look at Dan Campbell, they started out slow in the first couple of years, and then, they get one game from the playoffs, and then next thing you know, they're in the NFC Championship. And then next year they're the number one seed, get bounced in their first game, which was the second round. And then this year you don't even make the playoffs. Where do they need to go this offseason to try to get back to it? And if they don't get back to it, do you think Dan is on the hot seat?
And just to follow that up, Herm, FanDuel has the Lions with the 8th best odds to win the Super Bowl next year and the 5th best odds to win the NFC North, or the NFC rather. Just your thoughts to follow up on what GQ was saying.
I saw that as well, and I saw that they were ranked inside the top 10. I looked at their Super Bowl odds, which I think a lot of people thought this was just a down year for him. GQ, to your point on Coach Campbell, the seat gets hotter, as it goes, because you have a window. You look at a lot of other coaches that are in a similar situation that have had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, came in under the same type of situation or tenure. And, to have two pass, you had it when you were playing San Francisco, you were basically a quarter away and you're up in the game by a couple scores. And ultimately you lose that. The second one is you have a clear path to the Super Bowl because you have the home field advantage. You have the first round bye and you're out of the playoffs in the first game. And then this year, just basically missing out altogether. So it's one of those deals where you don't want to think you've had a plateau. You look at what's happened this year and then you look to see if you can rebound the following year. But there were some inconsistencies. There were people will say injuries. Every team has injuries. And I try and push back on that a little bit because that happens with all teams with the injuries. But for the most part, I think there is going to start to be a little bit of that. But I think he has the confidence of the organization. That's most important versus what the fans or external people may think. And if he has his locker room and his players, then that's all that really matters, I think, for him. But they got to get back on track.
Yeah, they do.
And we'll leave it at that. Hey, Herm, I know you've got a big following around here. For those who are looking to follow you on your social medias, where can they find you?
They can find me on X. They can find me on Meta, on Facebook, IG. If you're a business and you want to learn a little bit about what I'm doing with sports and how that transferred skills over into the business world, you can follow me on a lot of my stories on LinkedIn. You can just check me out. Just type in my name. You'll find that verified profile. That's it. My handle changes a little bit. So instead of saying what each handle is, I'll say check me out there. But if you're into car collecting, continue to follow me. I'll be doing a lot with that. We're looking to do some things on like Whatnot and on several other social platforms to share unboxing the 90s, which I'm pretty excited about. Taking out a lot of the things that I've had and then offering those so you can put those into your cave. So I'm a collector of things. So they're going to enjoy the stories, but they're going to enjoy the fact that they'll have an opportunity to have access to those items as well.
Fantastic. You got a final thought for Herm before we wrap this up, GQ?
No, I just want to say appreciate you joining us, man. It's always, like I said, I've always been a fan. Like I said, as a kid, I remember playing with you on the video game, man. So it's always surreal for me to make it to Detroit and actually see. Because my first team was Houston. I didn't grow up playing with the Houston Texans, right? They wasn't on the video games when I was a kid. They wasn't even a team, right? So then to get to Detroit and I'm seeing Barry and I'm seeing her, I'm just like, dang, like this is like crazy to me, man. So just a pleasure to get to know you, man, and to talk to you. And so I just want to thank you for coming on the show, man.
And Herm,
I appreciate it, Trevor. Don't tell me you played me in video games.
No, I did not. I was sticking the mic in your face, and I got the opportunity to do it again here today, Herman. I really do appreciate it, and congratulations to you on being elected into the College Football Hall of Fame. Very well deserved, and we're giving you your flowers here because you certainly deserve it. So we're glad you were able to come on and get those from us and talk a little Lions football. And for everybody else out there, be sure to subscribe, and we hope you enjoyed this edition of Believe in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. Our thanks to the great Herman Moore. GQ and I will see you again next week. Take care, everybody.